In the heart of a bustling refugee camp, life was a series of struggles and fleeting moments of joy. For Pa and Meng, these moments were found in each other's company. Each morning, as the sun cast its gentle glow over the camp, they would meet at a familiar spot near a dusty path lined with makeshift tents. The air was filled with the scent of cooking fires and the soft murmur of families starting their day. Children ran barefoot through the dirt, and the occasional cry of a baby pierced the morning calm. Despite the hardships surrounding them, this time of day felt almost magical, a brief reprieve from the chaos. Pa would arrive first, her hair neatly braided and her face washed clean. She always wore a simple dress, its colors faded but well kept, a testament to her resilience. Meng would appear moments later, his eyes lighting up at the sight of her. He'd greet her with a soft, "Good morning, Pa," his voice filled with warmth. Pa would return the greeting with a shy smile, her eyes sparkling. Their journey to school was a cherished routine, a small slice of normalcy in an otherwise tumultuous world. They walked side by side, their footsteps kicking up small clouds of dust. The path to school wound through the camp, past rows of tents made from tarps and salvaged wood. Families huddled around small fires, cooking breakfast or preparing for the day ahead. The sight of Pa and Meng walking together had become a familiar one, a symbol of hope and friendship in the camp. As they walked, they would talk about their dreams and aspirations. Pa dreamed of becoming a teacher, inspired by the volunteers who taught at their makeshift school. Meng wanted to be a doctor, driven by the desire to help his community. They shared their hopes for the future, painting a picture of a life beyond the camp's borders. Their conversations were filled with laughter, and their faces would light up with each new idea. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. Occasionally, their hands would brush against each other, sending shy smiles across their faces. These brief touches, though accidental, held a world of meaning. They spoke of a connection that went beyond words, a silent understanding that comforted them both. In a place where everything was uncertain, Pa and Meng found stability and comfort in each other's presence. The camp was a harsh place, filled with uncertainty and daily struggles. Water had to be fetched from communal taps, and food was often scarce. Families lived in cramped quarters, with little privacy and few possessions. Disease and illness were constant threats, and the future was always uncertain. Yet, in those moments together, Pa and Meng found a semblance of normalcy and hope. Their friendship was a beacon of light, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there was still room for joy and love. In the afternoons after school, they would sometimes sit by the edge of the camp, watching the sunset. The sky would be painted in hues of orange and pink, casting a warm glow over the camp. These moments were quiet and contemplative, a chance to reflect on their day and dream about tomorrow. Pa and Meng would sit close, their shoulders touching, finding solace in each other's presence. Txoj's unspoken love for Pa affected every aspect of his life. He found it hard to concentrate on his studies, his thoughts constantly drifting back to her. He became irritable and short-tempered, snapping at his friends and family for no apparent reason. The burden of his hidden feelings weighed heavily on him, a constant source of inner turmoil. As time went on, Txoj realized that his love for Pa was unlikely to be reciprocated. Yet, he couldn't bring himself to move on or to stop caring for her. His heart remained tethered to her, bound by the memories of their shared past and the unfulfilled dreams of what might have been. He continued to watch from a distance, his silent love a painful secret that he carried with him every day. One afternoon, as the sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue over the refugee camp, Txoj found himself wandering aimlessly, his thoughts consumed by Pa. The camp was beginning to quiet down as families gathered for dinner, and children were called back to their tents. The air was filled with the scent of cooking fires and the soft murmur of conversations. As Txoj walked along the dusty paths, he noticed Pa and Meng sitting under a large tree at the edge of the camp. The tree's thick branches provided a canopy of shade, its leaves rustling gently in the evening breeze. The scene was serene, almost idyllic, with the sound of birds chirping adding to the tranquil atmosphere. Pa and Meng were surrounded by their textbooks, the remnants of a long study session scattered around them. Pa's laughter rang out, clear and bright, as she teased Meng about one of his incorrect answers. She was pointing at a page in his book, her eyes dancing with amusement. "Meng, how could you get that wrong?" she teased, her tone playful. "I thought you were supposed to be the smart one." Meng feigned offense, crossing his arms and pouting dramatically. "Hey, everyone makes mistakes," he retorted, his eyes twinkling with mirth. "Besides, I was distracted by your beauty. How can anyone concentrate with you around?" Pa blushed and giggled, clearly delighted by his compliment. She leaned in closer to Meng, her face inches from his. "Well, I guess I'll have to forgive you then," she said softly, her voice filled with affection. Txoj, hidden behind a nearby tent, watched the scene unfold with a heavy heart. The sight of Pa and Meng so close, their connection palpable, filled him with a profound sense of envy and sorrow. As Pa leaned in to kiss Meng's cheek, her expression tender and loving, Txoj felt a sharp pain in his chest. The kiss was a simple gesture, yet it spoke volumes about the depth of their bond. Txoj's heart clenched with envy. He longed to be the one who made Pa laugh, who received her tender kisses. The reality that Pa's love was for Meng, not him, was a bitter pill to swallow. He had spent so many nights dreaming of what it would be like to be in Meng's place, to share those moments of closeness and affection with Pa. But now, seeing it with his own eyes, the fantasy crumbled, leaving him with a deep sense of loss. Unable to bear the sight any longer, Txoj turned away, his steps heavy with sorrow. He walked slowly, each step feeling like an effort as he tried to process the emotions swirling within him. The laughter and joy he had witnessed felt like a distant echo, a reminder of what he could never have. His heart was a tumult of conflicting emotions: love, envy, sorrow, and resignation. Txoj's thoughts were a whirlwind. He replayed the scene over and over in his mind, each time feeling the sting of jealousy more acutely. He knew that Pa's happiness should be enough for him, that her love for Meng didn't diminish her worth or the bond they once shared as friends. But knowing this did little to ease his pain. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the camp, Txoj found a quiet spot away from prying eyes. He sat down, his back against a weathered tent, and let the tears he had been holding back flow freely. The loss of a love that was never his to begin with was a heavy burden to bear. He felt the weight of it pressing down on him, a constant reminder of what might have been. In that moment, Txoj realized that he needed to let go. Holding on to his unspoken love for Pa was only causing him pain. He needed to find a way to move forward, to accept that some dreams were never meant to be. It was a painful truth, but one that he knew he had to face. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Txoj wiped his tears and took a deep breath. The journey ahead would be difficult, but he knew he had to find a way to heal. He would always carry the memory of his love for Pa in his heart, but it was time to find a new path, one that didn't lead to heartache and longing. With a heavy heart but a determined spirit, Txoj resolved to find a way to move on, to create new dreams and find new sources of happiness in the midst of their challenging world. Meng, on the other hand, felt his love for Pa growing stronger each day. Every moment they spent together, whether walking to school or studying under the tree, deepened his affection for her. Her laughter was a melody that played in his heart, her smiles a beacon of light in the often harsh reality of the refugee camp. He admired her resilience, her kindness, and the way she could find joy even in the smallest things. The more he got to know her, the more he realized that he wanted to spend his life with her. One evening, as the camp began to settle down for the night, Meng sat down for a quiet dinner with his relative Pa in their cramped tent. The tent was a modest structure, its fabric walls adorned with makeshift repairs and patches. The flickering light of a small oil lamp cast long shadows on the walls, creating an intimate atmosphere. The smell of rice and vegetables cooking over a small stove filled the air, a comforting aroma that provided a sense of normalcy amidst the uncertainty. Meng picked at his food, his mind preoccupied with thoughts of Pa. Finally, he gathered the courage to speak. "Pa, I need your advice," he began, his voice tinged with apprehension. "I love Pa deeply. What should I do to win her heart?" Pa looked up from his meal, his eyes thoughtful. He had known Meng for years and had watched him grow from a boy into a young man. He could see the sincerity and determination in Meng's eyes. Pao considered Meng's words carefully, knowing that the advice he gave could shape the future for both Meng and Pa. After a few moments of silence, Pao spoke, his voice steady and deliberate. Meng, in our culture, there is a traditional way to secure a marriage, he began. If you truly love Pa and want to make her your wife, you must do it the old way. Drag her home to be your wife. That's the only way to ensure she becomes yours. Meng's heart raced at Pao's words. The old way was a deeply rooted tradition, one that involved physically taking the woman you loved and bringing her to your home, effectively claiming her as your wife. It was a practice that had been followed for generations, but Meng felt uneasy about it. He couldn't imagine forcing Pa into something she didn't want, but the thought of losing her to someone else was unbearable. But Pao, Meng said hesitantly, what if Pa doesn't want this? What if she doesn't want to be with me? Pa's gaze softened. Meng, you have to understand that sometimes taking action is necessary to show the strength of your love and commitment. It's not about forcing her. It's about making a bold statement. If Pa truly loves you, she will understand. Meng nodded slowly, his mind racing. He respected the traditions of their culture, but he also valued Pa's feelings and autonomy. The idea of dragging her home felt drastic, yet Pao's words echoed in his mind. If he didn't take action, he risked losing Pa forever, and that was a possibility he couldn't bear. The thought of Pa with someone else, especially someone who might not treat her with the same love and respect he had for her, filled Meng with a deep sense of dread. He imagined a future where Pa was unhappy, where her laughter was stifled, and her dreams unfulfilled. The very idea was enough to solidify his resolve. Meng spent the next few days in a state of inner turmoil. He couldn't stop thinking about Pa and the advice Pao had given him. He watched Pa from a distance, observing her interactions with others, her smile, her laughter. He knew he had to make a decision, and soon. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the camp, Meng made his way to Pa's tent. His heart pounded in his chest, and his palms were sweaty with anxiety. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he was about to do. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to follow through. Pa was outside her tent, tending to a small garden she had started. The sight of her, so serene and beautiful, gave Meng a moment's pause. He almost reconsidered his plan, but then the thought of losing her to someone else surged through him again, strengthening his resolve. Pa! Meng called softly as he approached. She looked up, her eyes lighting up at the sight of him. Meng, what brings you here? She asked, smiling. Meng took a deep breath. Pa, there's something I need to talk to you about, he said, his voice steady. I've thought long and hard about this, and I've come to a decision. Pa's smile faded slightly, replaced by a look of concern. What is it, Meng? Meng stepped closer, his heart pounding. Pa, I love you. I want to spend my life with you. According to our traditions, I need to take you home to be my wife. Pa's eyes widened in surprise, her hand flying to her mouth. She looked at Meng, seeing the earnestness and determination in his eyes. For a moment, there was silence as she processed his words. Meng, Pa began, her voice trembling. I don't know what to say. Meng reached out, taking her hand in his. Pa, I would never force you to do something you don't want. But I need you to know how much you mean to me. I can't bear the thought of losing you. Tears welled up in Pa's eyes. She could see the sincerity in Meng's eyes, feel the warmth of his hand holding hers. She realized that his love for her was genuine, and his actions, though guided by tradition, came from a place of deep affection and commitment. Meng, she said softly, I love you too, but I need time to think. This is a big decision. Meng nodded, his heart swelling with hope. Take all the time you need, Pa. I just needed you to know how I feel. As he left Pa's tent that evening, Meng felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. He had taken the first step, but now the future was in Pa's hands. All he could do was wait and hope that she would choose to be with him, not because of tradition, but because of love. The next day, as Pa and Meng strolled through the bustling market, the air was alive with the scent of fresh produce, spices, and the fragrant aroma of street food. The market was a vibrant mosaic of colors and sounds, with vendors enthusiastically calling out their wares, children darting between stalls, and shoppers bartering for the best prices. Pa and Meng wandered hand in hand, enjoying the brief respite from their daily struggles, occasionally stopping to admire the colorful fruits and vegetables or to sample a new delicacy. They paused at a stall where an elderly woman was selling handmade trinkets. Pa picked up a small, intricately carved wooden pendant and turned it over in her hands, admiring the craftsmanship. Meng watched her, his heart swelling with affection. It was moments like these that made him even more certain of his feelings for her. As they moved on to the next stall, the atmosphere suddenly shifted. Meng noticed Tu and his cousin approaching them from the opposite direction. Tu's face was set with determination, a stark contrast to the friendly demeanor he usually wore. His eyes were hard, his jaw clenched, and there was a tension in his posture that sent a shiver down Meng's spine. I'm taking Pa to be my wife, Tu declared, his voice unwavering and loud enough to attract the attention of nearby vendors and shoppers. The cheerful chatter of the market seemed to fade into a tense silence as people turned to watch the unfolding drama. Meng's heart pounded in his chest. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. "What are you talking about, Tu?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm but failing to mask the rising panic. "You can't just take her." Tu stepped closer, his eyes boring into Meng's with an intensity that was unsettling. "From now on, stay away from my house," he said coldly. "If you come near, there will be consequences." Before Meng could react, Txoj's cousin reached out and grabbed Pa's hand. Pa gasped, her eyes wide with fear, and instinctively tried to pull away. "Let go of me," she cried, her voice trembling. She turned to Meng, desperation in her eyes. "Meng, please help. I don't want to live with Txoj. I love you." Meng's mind raced. He was caught between the cultural expectations that had been ingrained in him and his deep love for Pa. He knew that intervening could lead to serious repercussions, but seeing Pa in distress ignited a protective instinct within him. "Let her go too," Meng said, his voice shaking but resolute. "She doesn't want this. You can't force her to be with you." Txoj's cousin tightened his grip on Pa, pulling her closer as she continued to struggle. The surrounding crowd watched in stunned silence, the tension palpable. Meng could see the fear in Pa's eyes, and it broke his heart. "This isn't about what she wants," Txoj spat, his voice laced with anger and jealousy. "It's about what's right. And what's right is that Pa becomes my wife." Pa's pleas grew more frantic, her voice rising in pitch. "Meng, please. I don't want to go with him. I love you." Meng's fists clenched at his sides. He felt a surge of helplessness and frustration. He knew he had to act, but the potential consequences paralyzed him. Txoj was right about one thing. In their culture, the act of taking a woman to be your wife was a deeply entrenched tradition. But seeing Pa's terror, Meng knew he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. "Txoj, this isn't right," Meng said, his voice firming with conviction. "You can't just take her against her will. We're not living in the past anymore." Txoj's face contorted with rage. "Stay out of this, Meng," he warned. "This is between Pa and me. If you interfere, you'll regret it." The market around them seemed to hold its breath. The onlookers were torn between the old ways and the obvious distress of Pa. Meng took a step forward, his mind made up. "I won't let you take her," he said, his voice steady. "Not like this." In that moment, Meng felt a strange calm wash over him. He knew that standing up to Txoj could have dire consequences, but his love for Pa gave him the strength to face whatever might come. The bond they shared was too precious to be shattered by fear. "Txoj," Meng said, his voice unwavering, "if you truly care for Pa, you'll let her choose for herself. You can't build a life together based on force and fear." Txoj's cousin pulled harder on Pa, but she twisted away, managing to free herself momentarily. She ran to Meng, clutching his arm. "Please, Meng," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Don't let them take me." Meng wrapped his arm protectively around Pa, standing his ground. He looked Txoj in the eye, ready to face whatever came next. The crowd watched, tension thick in the air, waiting to see how the confrontation would end. In that moment, Meng realized that love wasn't just about following tradition or societal expectations. It was about standing up for what was right, even when it was difficult. And as he stood there with Pa by his side, he knew he would do whatever it took to protect her and their love. Quarto. Right in detail of Txoj tightened his grip, his voice harsh and unyielding. Pa is my wife now. If you interfere, you'll pay the price. You know our culture, Meng. Meng stood frozen, his heart breaking as he watched Pa being dragged away. Her cries echoed in his ears long after she disappeared from sight. He felt a deep sense of helplessness, knowing that the cultural norms of their community left him powerless to intervene. Txoj tightened his grip on Pa's wrist, his fingers digging into her skin with a force that left no room for escape. Pa winced in pain, her eyes wide with fear and disbelief. Her heart pounded in her chest as she tried to pull away, but Txoj's hold was unyielding. The market around them seemed to fade into the background, the bustling noise and vibrant colors now a distant memory. All that remained was the terrifying reality of Txoj's determination. Pa is my wife now, Txoj declared, his voice harsh and unyielding. His words echoed with a finality that sent a shiver down Meng's spine. The crowd around them, drawn by the commotion, fell silent, their eyes fixed on the unfolding drama. Some looked on with sympathy, while others whispered among themselves, debating the rightness of Txoj's actions. Meng felt his heart break at the sight of Pa's distress. She looked at him, her eyes pleading for help, her voice trembling as she called out, "Meng, please. Don't let him take me. I love you." Her cries tore through him, each one a dagger to his soul. Txoj's expression hardened, and he pulled Pa closer, his grip like a vice. "If you interfere, you'll pay the price," he warned Meng, his voice cold and menacing. "You know our culture, Meng. This is how it's done. She's mine now." Meng stood frozen, his mind racing. He knew the cultural norms of their community left him powerless to intervene directly. The tradition of taking a woman to be your wife was deeply ingrained, and challenging it could lead to severe consequences for both him and Pa. His love for her clashed violently with his fear of the repercussions, leaving him paralyzed with indecision. Pa's struggles grew more frantic, her desperation palpable. "Meng, please. I don't want to go with him," she cried, her voice rising in pitch. Her tears flowed freely, glistening on her cheeks as she fought against Txoj's hold. The sight of her suffering filled Meng with a deep sense of helplessness. He wanted to reach out, to pull her away from Txoj, but his feet felt like they were rooted to the ground. As Txoj began to drag Pa away, her cries echoed in Meng's ears. Each step she took away from him felt like a blow to his heart. He watched in anguish as Txoj and his cousin moved further and further away, Pa's pleas growing fainter with each passing moment. Her voice, filled with fear and heartbreak, lingered in the air long after she disappeared from sight. Meng's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. He felt a profound sense of loss and guilt, knowing that he couldn't protect the woman he loved. The weight of tradition and cultural expectations pressed down on him, suffocating his ability to act. He was caught in a web of helplessness, trapped by the very customs that had shaped his upbringing. The crowd began to disperse, their murmurs of disapproval and resignation blending into the ambient noise of the market. Some glanced at Meng with pity, while others shook their heads, resigned to the inevitability of tradition. Meng stood alone, his heart heavy with sorrow. The image of Pa being dragged away, her face etched with fear and betrayal, was seared into his mind. He turned away, his steps heavy and slow, each one a reminder of his failure. As he walked through the market, the once vibrant and lively scene now felt dull and lifeless. His thoughts were consumed by Pa's cries, the sound of her voice echoing in his mind. He knew that his love for her had not diminished, but the reality of their situation felt like an insurmountable barrier. Meng made his way back to his tent, his body moving on autopilot. He sat down on his makeshift bed, his mind replaying the events over and over. The sense of powerlessness gnawed at him, a constant reminder of his inability to change what had happened. He knew he had to find a way to help Pa, to fight against the oppressive traditions that had torn them apart. But for now, all he could do was grieve for the love he had lost and hope that somehow they would find a way back to each other. As night fell, Meng lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his tent. The stars outside twinkled indifferently, unaware of the turmoil in his heart. He made a silent vow to himself. He would not give up on Pa. No matter the cost, he would find a way to be with her, to free her from the binds of tradition that had forced her into a life she did not choose. With this resolve, he closed his eyes, determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead for the sake of the woman he loved. Years passed, and life took Meng and his family to America, seeking a fresh start away from the painful memories of the refugee camp. The transition was not easy, but the promise of new beginnings and opportunities fueled their determination. They settled in a small town in the Midwest, where the local community was welcoming and diverse. The town had a slow, peaceful pace, a stark contrast to the chaos and uncertainty they had left behind. Meng found work at a local manufacturing plant, where he started as a laborer but quickly proved his worth with his dedication and hard work. His colleagues appreciated his reliability and willingness to learn, and he slowly began to move up the ranks. Meng's parents, though older, found comfort in the stability and safety of their new home. They often reminisced about their homeland, but the opportunity to rebuild their lives gave them a renewed sense of purpose. Meng, however, never fully escaped the memories of Pa. Her face, her voice, and the sound of her laughter haunted his dreams. He often wondered about her, hoping she had found some semblance of happiness despite the circumstances. His love for her remained a quiet, constant presence in his heart, a bittersweet reminder of what he had lost. Meanwhile, Txoj's life took a different path. After finishing school, he managed to secure a good job in the city. His intelligence and ambition helped him climb the corporate ladder, and he soon married a woman named Kia. Kia was beautiful and accomplished, and together they had 4 children. To the outside world, Txoj appeared to have it all: a successful career, a loving family, and financial stability. Despite his outward success, Txoj's treatment of Pa grew increasingly harsh. The pressures of his job and the responsibilities of his new family seemed to amplify his frustrations, which he often took out on Pa. He became emotionally distant, neglecting her needs and showing little interest in her well-being. Pa, once vibrant and hopeful, slowly withered under the weight of his indifference. Txoj's trips back to Laos became more frequent, under the guise of business. In reality, he was dating younger women, sending them money and gifts. These relationships provided him with an escape from his responsibilities and the emotional complexities of his life in America. He justified his actions by convincing himself that he deserved happiness, even if it came at the expense of Pa's. Pa, meanwhile, found herself trapped in a loveless marriage. She endured Txoj's neglect and harsh words, clinging to the hope that things might change. Her isolation was profound, living in a foreign country without the support of friends or family. The love and laughter that once defined her spirit faded, replaced by a quiet resignation. Eventually, the cracks in their marriage became too deep to ignore. Txoj's infidelities and emotional abuse took their toll, and the marriage crumbled. The divorce was swift and merciless, leaving Pa heartbroken and alone. The finality of it all hit her hard. The dreams she had once cherished were shattered, and she found herself adrift, unsure of where to turn. Pa moved to St. Paul, Minnesota, to live with her parents. The move provided her with a semblance of solace, a chance to heal and rebuild her life. Her parents offered the support and understanding she so desperately needed, and slowly she began to find her footing. St. Paul, with its vibrant Hmong community, offered her a sense of belonging that she had not felt in years. Despite the challenges, Pa found moments of peace and happiness in her new surroundings. She reconnected with old friends and made new ones, slowly rediscovering the vibrant spirit that had once defined her. Her parents' unconditional love and the support of the community helped her heal from the wounds of her past. Meng, too, continued to build his life in America. He advanced in his career, eventually becoming a supervisor at the plant. His dedication and work ethic earned him the respect of his colleagues, and he found a sense of fulfillment in his work. Yet, despite his achievements, the memory of Pa remained with him, a lingering question of what might have been. One day, while out shopping at a bustling flea market, Meng spotted an older lady who seemed familiar. The market was a vibrant place, filled with colorful stalls and the hum of conversations. As he approached, the lady whispered to a beautiful woman beside her, The woman turned, and Meng's heart skipped a beat. Meng, it's you. How have you been? Pa exclaimed, her eyes lighting up with recognition. Meng's eyes widened in disbelief. Pa, is it really you? I'm so sorry about that day. I couldn't help you. Pa smiled sadly, her eyes reflecting years of pain and resilience. It's okay, Meng. The past is the past. How have you been? You've grown into a mature, good-looking man. Meng introduced Pa to his wife, Kia. This is an old friend from Thailand, he explained. Kia smiled warmly before continuing her shopping, leaving Meng and Pa to catch up. I'm glad to see you found happiness, Meng, Pa said softly. You have a beautiful family. I'm so happy for you. Meng smiled back, his heart heavy with memories. Thank you, Pa. How have you been? Pa's eyes welled up with tears. Meng, I have a request. When I die, please come and dress me in my Hmong clothes for my last wish. Meng's heart ached at her words. What happened, Pa? Is there anything I can do to help? Pa shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I was diagnosed with cancer a few weeks ago. It spread throughout my body, and I only have 3 months left. Meng embraced her, tears mingling with hers. I will, Pa. I promise. 3 months later, Meng received a call from Pa's mother. Pa passed away this morning. We're going to the hospital to dress her in her Hmong clothes. Can you come? Meng, filled with sorrow, left his office and drove to the hospital. As he gently dressed Pa in her traditional attire, memories of their time together flooded his mind. He honored her last wish with a heavy heart, feeling the weight of his unfulfilled love. The familiar patterns of the Hmong clothes brought back a rush of memories, and Meng's hands trembled as he carefully arranged the fabric. At Pa's funeral, held in a small, serene chapel, Tu and Kia attended for the final farewell. The air was thick with grief and the scent of incense. Meng stood by Pa's side one last time, honoring the love they once shared and the promise he had kept. As the ceremony ended, Meng looked at Pa one last time, silently vowing to cherish her memory forever. The love they had, though short-lived, had left an indelible mark on his heart. The echoes of their shared moments and the silent promises whispered between them would stay with him for the rest of his life, a testament to a love that transcended the bounds of time and circumstance. Pa, seeking solace, moved to live with her parents in St. Paul, Minnesota. The city was home to a vibrant Hmong community, and Pa found comfort in the familiar language, traditions, and faces that surrounded her. Her parents' modest home, though small, was warm and filled with love. They welcomed her with open arms, offering the support and understanding she so desperately needed. The days in St. Paul passed slowly at first. Pa spent much of her time helping her parents around the house, cooking traditional meals, and tending to a small garden in the backyard. She found solace in the routine, and gradually, the wounds left by her failed marriage began to heal. The community embraced her, and she reconnected with old friends while making new ones. Slowly, she started to rediscover the vibrant spirit that had once defined her. One crisp autumn day, Pa decided to visit a bustling flea market known for its eclectic mix of goods. The market was a vibrant place, filled with colorful stalls and the hum of conversations in various languages. Vendors enthusiastically called out their wares, from fresh produce and handmade crafts to vintage clothing and exotic spices. The air was filled with the enticing aroma of street food, and the cheerful sounds of children playing added to the lively atmosphere. Pa wandered through the stalls, her eyes scanning the myriad of items on display. She stopped occasionally to admire a piece of jewelry or to chat with a vendor. The market's energy was infectious, and Pa found herself smiling more and more as she moved from stall to stall. Meanwhile, Meng, who had also settled in St. Paul, decided to visit the same market. He enjoyed the vibrant atmosphere and often came to browse and pick up fresh ingredients for the week. As he strolled through the market, taking in the sights and sounds, his eyes caught sight of an older lady who seemed vaguely familiar. The woman was standing at a stall, inspecting a piece of handmade jewelry. She had a dignified air about her, and something about her profile stirred a distant memory in Meng's mind. Curious, he approached, moving closer to get a better look. As he drew near, the older lady turned to a beautiful woman beside her and whispered something. The woman looked up, and as her eyes met Meng's, his heart skipped a beat. Time seemed to stand still as he recognized her face. It was Pa. "Meng, it's you!" Pa exclaimed, her eyes lighting up with recognition and surprise. She took a step forward, her smile radiant. "How have you been?" Meng's eyes widened in disbelief. "Pa, is it really you?" His voice was filled with a mix of astonishment and emotion. "I'm so sorry about that day. I couldn't help you." Pa's smile softened, and she reached out to touch his arm reassuringly. "It's okay, Meng. The past is the past. What matters is that we're here now." Meng nodded, his mind racing with memories and emotions. He had dreamed of this moment for years, but now that it was happening, he found himself at a loss for words. The bustling market around them faded into the background as they stood face to face, reconnecting after so many years apart. "I've thought about you so often, Pa," Meng said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've wondered how you were where you were." Pa's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I've thought about you too, Meng. It's been a long journey, but I'm here now, and I'm doing better." Meng smiled, relief and joy washing over him. "I'm glad to hear that, Pa. I've missed you." They stood there for a moment, absorbing the reality of their reunion. The connection they had once shared was still strong, a testament to the enduring bond between them. As they continued to talk, they shared stories of their lives since they had last seen each other, catching up on years of missed experiences and moments. Meng introduced Pa to his wife Kia, who was shopping at a nearby stall. "This is an old friend from Thailand," he explained. Kia smiled warmly, welcoming Pa with a friendly greeting before continuing her shopping, leaving Meng and Pa to continue their conversation. "I'm glad to see you found happiness, Meng," Pa said softly. "You have a beautiful family. I'm so happy for you." Meng smiled back, his heart heavy with memories. "Thank you, Pa. How have you been?" Pa's eyes welled up with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. "Meng, I have a request. When I die, please come and dress me in my Hmong clothes for my last wish." Meng's heart ached at her words. "What happened, Pa? Is there anything I can do to help?" Pa shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I was diagnosed with cancer a few weeks ago. It spread throughout my body, and I only have 3 months left." Meng embraced her, tears mingling with hers. "I will, Pa. I promise." 3 months later, Meng received a call from Pa's mother. "Pa passed away this morning. We're going to the hospital to dress her in her Hmong clothes. Can you come?" Meng, filled with sorrow, left his office and drove to the hospital. As he gently dressed Pa in her traditional attire, memories of their time together flooded his mind. He honored her last wish with a heavy heart, feeling the weight of his unfulfilled love. The familiar patterns of the Hmong clothes brought back a rush of memories, and Meng's hands trembled as he carefully arranged the fabric. At Pa's funeral, held in a small, serene chapel, Tu and Kia attended for the final farewell. The air was thick with grief and the scent of incense. Meng stood by Pa's side one last time, honoring the love they once shared and the promise he had kept. As the ceremony ended, Meng looked at Pa one last time, silently vowing to cherish her memory forever. The love they had, though short-lived, had left an indelible mark on his heart. The echoes of their shared moments and the silent promises whispered between them would stay with him for the rest of his life, a testament to a love that transcended the bounds of time and circumstance. Pa smiled sadly, her eyes reflecting years of pain and resilience. The hardships she had endured were evident in the lines on her face, but her spirit remained unbroken. "It's okay, Meng. The past is the past," she said, her voice steady yet tinged with melancholy. "How have you been? You've grown into a mature, good-looking man." Meng felt a mix of emotions wash over him as he looked at Pa, the girl he had once loved so deeply. Her compliment warmed his heart, but the sadness in her eyes reminded him of the pain she had endured. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his emotions. "Thank you, Pa. Life has been a journey, but I'm grateful for where I am now." Pa glanced around, noticing Kia browsing through a nearby stall. Meng followed her gaze and called out to his wife. "Kia, come here for a moment." Kia walked over, her arms filled with various trinkets and a warm smile on her face. "Kia, this is an old friend from Thailand," Meng explained. Kia's smile widened and she extended her hand to Pa. "It's a pleasure to meet you," she said warmly. "I've heard so much about the friends Meng grew up with." Pa shook Kia's hand, her smile genuine but tinged with a hint of sadness. "It's nice to meet you too," she replied softly. Kia sensed the emotional undercurrent between Pa and Meng and, after exchanging a few pleasantries, excused herself to continue shopping, giving them the space to talk. "I'm glad to see you found happiness, Meng," Pa said softly once Kia had left. "You have a beautiful family. I'm so happy for you." Meng smiled back, though his heart felt heavy with memories of their past. "Thank you, Pa. Means a lot to hear you say that. How have you been?" He looked at her intently, noticing the way her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Pa took a deep breath, trying to steady her emotions. "It's been hard, Meng. But being here with my parents has helped. The community is supportive, and I'm slowly finding my way again." Her voice trembled slightly, and Meng's concern grew. "Pa, what's wrong?" he asked gently. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Pa hesitated, her eyes welling up with tears. She looked away for a moment, composing herself before meeting his gaze again. "Meng, I have a request," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "When I die, please come and dress me in my Hmong clothes for my last wish." Meng's heart ached at her words, the gravity of the request sinking in. "What happened, Pa?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Pa shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I was diagnosed with cancer a few weeks ago," she explained, her voice breaking. "It spread throughout my body, and I only have 3 months left." The weight of her words hit Meng like a physical blow. He felt a lump form in his throat, and his eyes filled with tears. Without thinking, he stepped forward and embraced Pa, holding her tightly as they both cried. "I'm so sorry, Pa," he whispered. "I wish there was something I could do to take away your pain." Pa clung to him, drawing comfort from his presence. "Just promise me you'll fulfill my last wish, Meng," she said through her tears. "That's all I ask." Meng pulled back slightly, looking into her eyes with unwavering determination. "I promise, Pa," he said firmly. "I'll be there. I'll make sure your last wish is honored." They stood there for a long moment, the weight of their shared past and the present reality settling over them. Despite the years and the pain, their connection remained strong, a testament to the bond they had once shared. As they parted ways, Meng watched Pa walk away, her figure gradually disappearing into the crowd. He knew that the time they had left together was short, but he was determined to make every moment count. He would be there for her, just as she had asked, and honor the love and friendship they had once shared. 3 months later, Meng received the call he had been dreading. Pa's mother's voice was thick with grief as she delivered the news. "Pa passed away this morning. We're going to the hospital now to dress her in her Meng clothes. Can you come? Meng's heart shattered at the words, but he steeled himself, knowing he had to fulfill his promise. He left his office immediately, driving to the hospital with a heavy heart. As he gently dressed Pa in her traditional attire, memories of their time together flooded his mind. He honored her last wish with a heavy heart, feeling the weight of his unfulfilled love. The familiar patterns of the Meng clothes brought back a rush of memories, and Meng's hands trembled as he carefully arranged the fabric. At Pa's funeral, held in a small, serene chapel, Tu and Kia attended for the final farewell. The air was thick with grief and the scent of incense. Meng stood by Pa's side one last time, honoring the love they once shared and the promise he had kept. As the ceremony ended, Meng looked at Pa one last time, silently vowing to cherish her memory forever. The love they had, though short-lived, had left an indelible mark on his heart. The echoes of their shared moments and the silent promises whispered between them would stay with him for the rest of his life, a testament to a love that transcended the bounds of time and circumstance. Pa shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Her shoulders trembled with the effort to hold back sobs. I was diagnosed with cancer a few weeks ago, she said, her voice breaking with each word. It spread throughout my body, and I only have 3 months left. The weight of her words hit Meng like a physical blow. His legs felt weak, and he had to steady himself by gripping the edge of the stall beside them. Pa's revelation was a cruel twist of fate, one that shattered the fragile hope he had always carried in his heart. The bustling market around them faded into a blur, and all he could focus on was the pain etched on Pa's face. Without thinking, Meng stepped forward and pulled Pa into his arms. She buried her face in his chest, her body shaking with the force of her sobs. Meng held her tightly, his own tears mingling with hers. I'm so sorry, Pa, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I wish I could take away your pain. Pa clung to him, drawing comfort from his embrace. For a moment, they were just two souls bound by shared sorrow and unfulfilled love, seeking solace in each other's presence. Just promise me you'll fulfill my last wish, Meng, she said through her tears. That's all I ask. Meng pulled back slightly, looking into her eyes with unwavering determination. He brushed a tear from her cheek, his hand trembling. I promise, Pa, he said firmly. I'll be there. I'll make sure your last wish is honored. The weight of her request hung heavily over him, a poignant reminder of the love and sorrow they shared. They spent the rest of the afternoon together, walking through the market and talking about their past and their dreams. Each moment was bittersweet, filled with laughter and tears, as they tried to make the most of the time they had left. 3 months later, Meng was at work when his phone rang. The number on the screen was unfamiliar, but he felt a cold dread settle in his stomach as he answered. Pa's mother's voice came through the line, choked with grief. Pa passed away this morning, she said, her words heavy with sorrow. We're going to the hospital now to dress her in her Meng clothes. Can you come? Meng's heart shattered at the words. The office around him seemed to close in, the sounds of his colleagues and the hum of machinery fading into the background. He managed a shaky breath, forcing himself to stay calm. I'll be there, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He left his office immediately, his mind numb with grief. The drive to the hospital was a blur, his thoughts consumed by memories of Pa. He remembered the way she laughed, the warmth of her smile, the kindness in her eyes. The thought of never seeing her again was unbearable, but he knew he had to be strong for her. At the hospital, Meng was greeted by Pa's family. Her mother's eyes were red from crying, and her father's face was etched with pain. They embraced him, their shared grief uniting them in a moment of profound sadness. Together they walked to the room where Pa lay, her body peaceful in death. Meng's hands trembled as he picked up the traditional Hmong clothes Pa had requested. The intricate patterns and vibrant colors were a stark contrast to the sterile white of the hospital room. As he gently dressed Pa in her traditional attire, memories of their time together flooded his mind. He remembered their walks to school, their study sessions under the tree, and the way she had looked at him with love and trust. Each piece of clothing he arranged felt like a final act of love, a way to honor the bond they had shared. The familiar patterns brought back a rush of memories, each one more bittersweet than the last. Meng's hands shook as he tied the sashes and adjusted the layers, the weight of his unfulfilled love pressing down on him. Tears streamed down his face as he worked, but he kept going, driven by the promise he had made. When he was finished, he stepped back, his heart aching with the knowledge that this was their final goodbye. He reached out and gently touched her face, his fingers brushing against her cold skin. "I love you, Pa," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I'll never forget you." At Pa's funeral, held in a small, serene chapel, the air was thick with grief and the scent of incense. The community had gathered to pay their respects, their faces somber as they remembered the vibrant woman who had touched their lives. Tu and Kia attended the final farewell, standing with their heads bowed in sorrow. Meng stood by Pa's side one last time, honoring the love they had once shared and the promise he had kept. As the ceremony ended, he looked at Pa one last time, silently vowing to cherish her memory forever. The love they had, though short-lived, had left an indelible mark on his heart. The echoes of their shared moments and the silent promises whispered between them would stay with him for the rest of his life, a testament to a love that transcended the bounds of time and circumstance. At Pa's funeral, held in a small, serene chapel nestled among tall trees, the atmosphere was heavy with sorrow. The soft murmur of condolences filled the space as friends and family gathered to pay their final respects. The chapel's wooden pews were polished and worn, bearing witness to countless moments of joy and grief over the years. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the floor, a stark contrast to the somber mood. Tu and Kia arrived together, their faces etched with sadness. They took their seats near the front, their heads bowed in silent reflection. Despite their past, Tu was there to honor the memory of the woman who had once been a significant part of his life. Kia, understanding the gravity of the occasion, offered quiet support, her hand resting gently on Tu's arm. The air was thick with grief, punctuated by the soft, rhythmic chanting of the monks who had come to perform the traditional rites. The scent of incense wafted through the chapel, mingling with the faint aroma of fresh flowers that adorned the altar. White lilies and chrysanthemums, symbols of mourning and remembrance, surrounded Pa's photograph, capturing her serene smile. Meng stood by Pa's side one last time, his heart heavy with the weight of their shared history. He had dressed her in the traditional Meng clothes she had requested, each piece carefully chosen and arranged. The intricate embroidery and vibrant colors were a testament to her heritage and the life she had lived. Meng's hands had trembled as he had tied the final sash, the act both a farewell and a tribute to the woman he had loved. As the monks continued their chanting, Meng's thoughts drifted to the past. He remembered their walks to school, the way Pa's laughter had filled the air, and the shared dreams they had spoken of under the shade of their favorite tree. Each memory was a poignant reminder of what could have been, a love that had been cut short by fate. The ceremony progressed with quiet dignity. Friends and family took turns approaching the altar, offering flowers and whispering final goodbyes. Meng watched as each person paid their respects, feeling a sense of connection to the community that had come together to honor Pa's memory. Her impact on their lives was evident in the tears that were shed and the heartfelt words that were spoken. When it was Meng's turn, he stepped forward, his legs feeling heavy as he approached the altar. He knelt beside Pa's casket, his hands clasped in prayer. The sight of her peaceful face, framed by the delicate folds of her traditional attire, brought a fresh wave of grief. He leaned forward, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "I love you, Pa," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I'll never forget you." As the ceremony drew to a close, the monks offered a final blessing. The mourners began to file out of the chapel, their faces a mixture of sorrow and relief. The scent of incense lingered in the air, a reminder of the sacredness of the moment. Meng remained by Pa's side, his heart heavy with the knowledge that this was the last time he would be with her. Before leaving, Meng took one last look at Pa. Her face was serene, free from the pain that had plagued her final days. He silently vowed to cherish her memory forever, to honor the love they had shared and the promises they had whispered to each other in the quiet moments of their lives. The love they had, though short-lived, had left an indelible mark on his heart. Meng knew that the echoes of their shared moments and the silent promises whispered between them would stay with him for the rest of his life. As he walked out of the chapel, the sunlight warm on his face, he felt a sense of peace. Pa's memory would live on in him, a testament to a love that transcended the bounds of time and circumstance. The journey ahead would be challenging, but Meng was determined to live his life in a way that honored Pa's spirit. He would carry her memory with him, a source of strength and inspiration. And in the quiet moments when the world seemed too much to bear, he would remember the love they had shared and find comfort in the knowledge that some bonds could never be broken.